Have you ever thought that the very thing you find boring might actually be your real strength? In this video, you will see why routine and repetition secretly become your greatest power, how people who aren't loud or flashy, but steady and consistent eventually leave their mark on the world, why stillness and predictability free you from chaos, distraction, and the need for external approval, and most importantly, the superpower of being boring that can make you unstoppable. Think about it. If staying boring was your real weapon, how would you shape your life? Let's begin. The paradox of boring. We live in an age where everything has turned into a spectacle. Every detail is exaggerated, every moment curated, and every picture hidden behind a filter. The culture of social media demands that you always remain interesting, loud, adventurous, unpredictable, and spontaneous. People want you to travel to exotic places, share photos of every meal, and turn your life into an endless highlight reel. The message is clear. If you're boring, you're invisible. If you follow a routine, you're irrelevant. But if we mute the noise for a while, if we calmly reflect on what really builds power, influence, and legacy, a strange paradox emerges. Real strength doesn't come from being flashy, it comes from being boring. The uncommon power of repetition. When I say boring, I don't mean a lifeless or dull life. Boring means a grounded, disciplined, and focused lifestyle, one that isn't addicted to constant stimulation. It's a life that doesn't feel the need to be seen. It prioritizes depth over novelty. Society teaches us that excitement equals success. But if you look at history's most powerful minds, philosophers, leaders, scientists, creators, one thing stands out. They embraced boring. Take Marcus Aurelius, Rome's emperor and a Stoic philosopher. He wrote in his journal every day, not for show, but for himself. He didn't chase adrenaline. He chased alignment. Think about it. The most powerful man in the world didn't run after chaos. He repeated his thoughts, his principles, his rituals. That wasn't boring. That was sovereignty. But why do we fear boring so much? Because when distractions are gone, when entertainment ends, we are left alone with ourselves. And not everyone likes that confrontation. Want to test yourself? Sit in a room alone. No phone, no TV, no conversation. See what surfaces inside you. Most people can't even get this far, because that's where real life begins. Not in motion, but in stillness. Those who mastered this stillness became dangerous, but in a beautiful way, because now the world couldn't control them. They didn't chase dopamine, they didn't run after novelty, they built like glaciers, slow, steady, unstoppable. Mastery is built through boredom. Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you did something daily for a year? Not because it was fun, but because it made you better. That's the real problem. We want growth, but not repetition. We want mastery, but run from boredom. But every mastery is born out of boring repetition. An athlete who trains daily, a writer who writes every day, a monk who meditates, or an entrepreneur who runs their business daily all share the same secret. Boring. They don't avoid boredom. They alchemize it. Boredom becomes a portal, a threshold that leads to depth, focus, and spiritual energy. Now let's talk about the paradox of discipline. From the outside, discipline looks lifeless, robotic, and dull. But from the inside, for those who live it, discipline becomes the most liberating force. We misunderstand freedom. We think freedom means doing whatever we want, whenever we want. But this so-called freedom scatters us into unfulfilled dreams, shallow relationships, and restless energy. True freedom belongs to those who embrace structure, who follow their daily rituals, because they have mastered themselves. Failure doesn't happen because the world is unfair. The real reason is lack of focus, the habit of instant gratification, and surrendering to distractions. Discipline destroys all of this. And discipline doesn't come from motivation. It comes from boring repetition, from working when no one is watching, from showing up when you don't feel like it. It's built in those moments that don't look glamorous. Why discipline makes you mentally dangerous. The most powerful people in any field share one trait: consistency. Talent is only the visible tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies boring repetition, early mornings, failures, revisions, and patience. And when you become disciplined, you become mentally dangerous, because now you can endure discomfort. You can outlast trends and criticism. You don't react, you direct. Discipline transforms your mind from a battlefield into a cathedral of focus. And in today's world, where every app and ad is designed to break your focus, this becomes a rare and lethal weapon. Every boring habit becomes a shield against distraction. Every repetition rewires your brain. Slowly, what once felt hard becomes easy, and what once felt boring becomes sacred. The quiet path to greatness. We often imagine greatness like fireworks, loud, explosive, dramatic, but true greatness is often silent. Think of the philosopher who writes for decades, the scientist who tests the theory again and again, the monk who repeats the same chant every day. They look boring, but they are the ones silently shaping the world. It's a spiritual paradox. Boring on the outside, extraordinary on the inside. Because if you constantly need excitement, you're actually running away from yourself. But when you embrace stillness, you start becoming yourself. And when you are ready to be boring, you start shaping the future. Legends are the ones who embrace boring. The cost of greatness. This path is not glamorous. It's lonely. Recognition doesn't come quickly. People don't understand you. But that's the real cost of greatness. You have to believe in your vision when no one else does. You have to trust your process when results aren't visible. You have to walk the same circle again and again. And with each lap, you go deeper. That's why legends are made. Ordinary people quit when boredom begins. Legends begin there. The final revelation, boredom as transcendence. In the end, a revelation comes. If you stay long enough with discipline and boredom, your perception changes. What once felt like a boring routine becomes meditation. What once felt like empty silence becomes full. Boredom is not an enemy. It's a veil, a threshold. But most people never reach the other side because they run away too early. But those who stay discover being, pure attention. And attention is the beginning of transcendence. Simone Weil said, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." And it's true. When you embrace the stillness hidden behind boring, you find timelessness. There, time disappears. You don't chase complexity, you live clarity. You realize boring was never a weakness. It was a spiritual discipline. And maybe the ones we call boring today will be the legends of tomorrow. Think about it. What kind of life will you build if you stop running from boredom and start listening to its voice? Will you be fireworks that disappear in a moment, or a pillar that stands for centuries? In the end, the world doesn't need more excitement. It needs more depth, more stillness, and more people ready to be boring so they can become eternal.